Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back. I am Reverend Sherry James, and I just want to welcome you to this conversation that I'm having with my friend, world-renowned saxophonist Mark Allen Felton. I'm so excited that you agreed to join me today, and it is going to be an incredible hour, and I can't wait to get started. So a couple things. This group of conversations, I've been doing this sort of virtual think tank online with friends of mine who have impressed me with their work, who have really lived an incredible life in terms of whatever it is that they've done, wherever their arena is. So, for example, yesterday we talked to success and finance coach Corey Chapman. Today we're going to talk to world-renowned saxophonist Mark Allen Felton. And then next week I've got a whole other host of people that are lined up. So this is just an exciting way for me to say thank you. You've been supporting the work that I've been doing through RevSherry.com, and I'm so grateful, so thankful that you guys show up for the Bible Hangout, and that you really just, supported me just with your presence. And also, I've got a new class that's launching, and so these conversations are really my way of saying thank you, and then also to introduce the new class that I'm doing. And that class is called Jumpstart. Wake up the passion that fuels your life purpose. And I like to put it this way, because sometimes the whole conversation around life purpose can feel extra, for lack of a better way to explain it. But the truth is that everything in creation has a purpose. There is not one thing. In fact, we don't invent anything unless it has a function. And that is because we're mirroring the way that the universe is constructed. And so you being a part of the universe means that you too have a purpose. And so maybe you've never thought of it that way, or maybe you know your purpose, but maybe you're not necessarily taking the kind of action, all out, massive action, as Corey would say, towards your life purpose. Well, Jumpstart is an opportunity. And so as we go through the broadcast, you'll actually get an opportunity to register for the class. But right now, we're just going to jump into this hour with Mark Allen Felton. Hey, Mark.
Hey, how y'all doing out there?
Oh, this is wonderful. So let me tell you a little bit about Mark, because I am impressed with him. Mark and I, we have known each other now for what, like a decade or
At least.
longer?
At
It's been a
least, yeah.
minute.
It's been a minute.
At least it's been a minute, yeah. So some of the things that I'm reading in this bio, I feel like I was there for when it happened. But this is Mark
You
Allen
were some
Felton.
of the things, absolutely.
I did, yes. Mark Allen Felton, aka Panther, loves to entertain. And he says, I always love the stage. It's the one place I can let go and totally be me. Of course, anybody who has ever witnessed Mark in action knows that he's not just a great musician, he's an awesome performer. He engages the audience with every note he plays, leaving them with a sense of connection to his music. As one fan put it, listening to Panther is like eating a piece of my favorite pie. It's so good. Oh yes, the music, funky yet as smooth as butter and oh so good, tailor-made for a man with his personality. Panther, as he is affectionately known, has received numerous awards for his musical excellence and has been heard by millions around the world. It's truly an honor to play music, and when people like what you do, it's icing on the cake. When listening to his current CD, I Do It for Love, which was produced, written, and arranged by him, you experience a timeless masterpiece that echoes the sentiments of his dedication to his music. We've all heard the stories about the ups and downs of a musician's life. It can be challenging at times, but to me it all boils down to why I do what I do in the first place. The answer is I do it for love. Now, a little bit of background on him. He was born in Chicago, Illinois, and he began playing bugle at the tender age of 9 and switched to saxophone at age 11. He was inspired by all types of artists, including Earth, Wind and Fire, Kool and the Gang, Grover Washington Jr., and many others. He attended my parents' alma mater, Texas Southern University in Houston, and he currently resides in Los Angeles. Hey, Mark.
Hey, what's going on?
Oh, I'm so excited about this. So I feel like I got a couple things, but I first want to start with the first time I heard you play. So we were in Chicago, Illinois. It was Panorama of Truth, 1998. And, this was my first Panorama of Truth. I had never experienced anything, so I was already like over the moon, just excited about Johnny Coleman. and
Okay.
this was the gala. And all I remember, and I don't even think you had moved to LA at that point. I think you were still in Chicago because
Think so.
I
Yeah.
would have seen you at Up Church if you had been there. And all of a sudden I saw this dude who was just like smooth as butter and with a saxophone. And it was the approach, it was the arrangement, it was the swagger. And I was like, who is this dude right
Wow.
here? And you weren't even necessarily doing all of the tricks that I've seen you develop over time. But even then, there was just this showmanship of like, yeah, I'm that dude. I run this place with a horn.
That is too funny right there.
Yes, yes, yes. Take me back to that place where you decided I need to come out to LA to pursue my art, to do that kind of work. What went into that?
Well, actually, back in the day when music was being produced out of either New York or LA, that seemed to actually come on the scene. I decided to go to a place that actually had the big studios and the movie studios and all that, because I wanted to pursue my dream of being, in the entertainment business like that. In Chicago, didn't really have all of the outlets that LA had. So I had a friend that had an aunt here, and from there, he asked her, could we move out to her place, and she had like a two-bedroom, had a son, and they was in another bedroom, and we ended up sleeping in the living room. So that was really originally my original time of coming out to LA and actually being, in the LA scene, and eventually decided to stay, and struggled staying here and trying to make it happen in the entertainment world. That's basically what happened. That's the short
Okay.
part of it.
That's a short story, right? So
Yeah.
now, it's the intersection in our lives is pretty interesting. So
Hmm.
you went to Texas Southern University, which is where my parents did their graduate work. How did you end up at
Right.
TSU? About
Well, that's
were you in the Ocean of Soul, or
I
just you
was
were
in
just
Ocean of
there?
Soul. What happened was that was kind of
Oh.
funny. That was a funny little story. When I was in high school, I wanted to be everybody wanted to be basketball players. That was on the team, wanted to be professional basketball players, but I wasn't getting the kind of time and everything. And we always wanted to be all city something. So I had the horn. I really wasn't practicing that much, but I kept it alive a little bit. I had the horn with me. So what I did was I found the brochure that said they had all city jazz band tryouts. So from there, I just started practicing my little scales a little bit. Went to the audition, and the guy opened the door and said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I came to, audition for All City Jazz Band." He said, "How did you hear about that?" I showed him the brochure, and he said, "You're a little bit late. That happened like last week." And I said, "What?" He said, "Look at your brochure." And I looked down, and it was the brochure from the previous year. So I was like, "Oh man!" I said, "Well, come on in here anyway." So I went in there. He said, "Do you know your major scales?" I said, "Yeah." "You know your minor scales?" "Yeah." So I played those. He said, "You're a senior, huh?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "You know what? We already got the saxophone players for this year, but since you're a senior and you came and you're really trying to do this, I'm gonna let you come in and be a part of this All City Jazz Band." So I went there and I was like, "Oh man, I made All City Jazz Band." I went back bragging on the team. At least I'm All City something, that kind of thing. And from there, I was the only senior that year, and normally they had scholarships coming from Grambling University, but that year they had one scholarship for Texas Southern University, and I ended up getting that scholarship, and that's how I ended up at Texas Southern.
That's fascinating. That okay, okay, okay. So you made your way through my hometown. Now, you told me a story once, Mark, about how you got your first horn. And
Oh yeah,
that was a pretty amazing story. Can you share that with the audience?
yeah. One time, I was a little kid, and I was watching television. It was a show that came on. I don't want to date myself, but it was one of those live entertainment shows, and
Hmm.
I was watching on the show, and Kool and the Gang came on the show, and the guy was flipping a horn around. I didn't really know what it was. I hadn't really been familiar with the instruments like that, but I saw this shiny thing he was flipping around. I was like, man, I want to do that. So I went to school the next day, and ironically, the drum and bugle teacher, he was starting a new band, a marching band and a orchestra, and he said they needed kids. You guys want to play any instruments? And I raised my hand. I was like, yeah, I want to play that shiny, curvy type of thing. I want to play that. And everybody started busting out laughing and stuff, you know. And then he said, you talking about this? And he showed me a picture of a saxophone. I said, yeah, that's it, right there. I want to play that. So he said, okay. I went home and told my mother, told me what it was. I went and told my mother, and she said, you know, we can't afford that thing right now. But she has like 6 kids, and pops is going to work every day, you know, trying to make things happen for all of us. And I put on my little, you know, acting role back then. I started screaming and crying and hollering, ah, all that stuff. And father came out and said, what's the problem? And I told him I wanted to play the saxophone, but Mama wouldn't let me play it, you know. And she said, "It's not I won't let you play it; it's that we can't really afford that thing." So Pop said, "Well, how much is it?" And I said, "It was like at the time I remember this price because it was a big deal. It was $17 a month." And he says, "Okay." And he ended up working like overtime just so I could play the saxophone. So that was like a
Oh,
big deal. So I never forget him for that. That was a big deal.
I
That's how I
love
started
that.
playing sax. That's how I got the horn. Yeah.
That's
Mm.
awesome. Now I'm going to kind of fast forward a little bit and just kind of get to the place where you decided this is what I want to do. This is my life's work, and this is how I want to support myself as an adult. This is I want to like create music. Where did that decision? Did that happen at TSU? Was that in did that happen before you got to Houston?
No, no. That happened actually. I can remember when I did get to TSU, I joined a band out there. And I remember one particular time we made like, I don't remember what it was, $100 or something like that for like about 45 minutes of playing. I was like, oh my God, this is it right here. I want to do this, you know, because it was fun, it was easy, and, you know, it was something that I said, man, if we can make it like this, then this is what I want to do. Not realizing it was a whole big struggle behind that. But that was my decision right there to play music that day. I can remember specifically where I really wanted to just get into it as far as making a living at it.
Got it, got it.
Yeah.
And so then you come out to LA, and how did you end up at my church at Up Church with Della Reese?
I think being around Johnny Coleman and they let me know there was a sister church out there in LA. So when I left to go to LA, I had to find out who you all were. So I made my way over to Up Church, you know, from there. And I just basically heard about it through the church in Chicago. That's how I pretty much found that.
Okay, okay. And I'm walking people through this because the artist that you are today. I mean, this was not like an overnight success. This was a climb. Talk to me about just kind of negotiating LA, figuring out how to find gigs and how to get heard as a musician. What was that like?
Well, you know what? You know, I think the music world, pretty much anywhere it goes, you have to stay. So that puts you in a place where you know people can at least hear you because you know I started playing in Della Reese's band, but the way I started playing in the band was I knew a couple of the guys over that was actually in the, like one of the guys was in the band over there, and I asked them how did they get into that band. I just he told me he just came around and started playing. So once I introduced myself to the congregation and the staff and everything, I just started going over every week, just playing every week, you know, and pretty soon they kind of got used to me. And then one day I think I was going to leave or something like that, and they said, well, you know, we like you, can you stay? And that's how I ended up getting in that band right there. And pretty much
Right.
all of the places that I ever played at, it's pretty much been the same concept. You go, you show what you can do, and you know, you just put your head in there, stick in, and do what you got to do. And pretty much after a while, people start maybe hearing about you and things of that nature, and then they'll start calling you directly. But pretty much, you just got to go. I think this is pretty much in everything you do. You just got to go out there and show up, and then things will show up for you.
Got it. I like that. You show up and things will show up for you. Okay, that's like a tweetable. Somebody need to tweet that out. Um,
Yeah.
Now, I think at the point that I started to work with you in your art, you at this point was you had created your own CD, which was the
Right.
Gospel Stroll, and
Right.
you were shooting it as a live concert. What happened? You just decided I'm going to take matters into my own hand. I'm creating my own music. I don't need anybody to tell me that I can create this music.
Look, I always looked at things like this. One thing that we do have, that God has given us is the ability to create. So it's like when I see things, it's like if you look at everything around you and everything that you do, somebody created that in their mind and decided to make that a project. So I figured that, hey, you know, I'm a creator. Things come through me. So it was like I just looked around and started thinking of things I wanted to do, and just started putting together projects. And pretty soon I just had a bunch of projects on my list that I wanted to complete. And one of them at that time was a CD, video, and stuff like that. And then once I knew what I wanted to do, then I started assembling the pieces and putting together the tools and everything to make sure that that thing happened. But it was like the first thing was like knowing what you want, and then once you know what you want, it's a matter of assembling the pieces together to make that thing happen. And that's how, matter of fact, where you were executive producer on that A Blessing CD,
Yes, I
um,
was. Mhm.
right? It was, co-executive producer,
Yeah,
co-co,
don't run away with the
co-co.
credit.
um, you were one of the pieces that helped, make that happen. And it was just that once I knew what I wanted to do, it was about getting sharp people like yourself together to help make it, become a reality. And I think
Mhm.
that's the key in anything. You got to first know where you want to go, and then that
Mhm.
way, like again, once you show up, it's just the show up concept. You show up, things show up for you.
Right, right, right. So, okay. So you show up, but what if you don't know how to get all the stuff done? Because I mean, you didn't necessarily know how to, shoot the concert and put all those pieces together. I mean, there were a lot of pieces with selling the tickets, getting the venue. I mean,
Right. Well, one thing that I'm really thankful for was a teacher I had when I was a young child, and she told me, listen, if you know how to read and write, you can go and do anything you want to do pretty much. So based off of that concept of reading and writing, I knew if I didn't know something about something, somebody did know about it because it wasn't like I was reinventing the wheel or anything like that. So I'm a big advocate of research. So I just pretty much, just researched what I wanted to do, and then I started figuring out what the actual plan of attack would be because it was already pretty much laid out because people have done it successfully over and over again, and I just pretty much piggybacked off of the research that I had, and that's how I learned the different positions of anything I do. Matter of fact, I'm pretty much like self-taught when it comes to playing the saxophone too. And then the way I learned, a lot of times it's just when I really got serious about it was seeking out information that was available, for us to be able to tap into something that's and then pretty much ride that. And now with the internet, I mean, literally anything you decide you want to do, somebody has some information for you to say this is how you do it.
right, 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 right. So one of the things that's always impressed me about you is that there is this openness to life. And I attribute that to you being an artist and to you being a musician and just a creator of art. And we talked about this a little bit when we were kind of planning out, this conversation. What is that? What is that exploration? Because I find that people get to a certain point and then they stop, either because nobody else has ever done it, or they don't believe that they can do it, or they're afraid of where it'll take them. But what does it take to really open up creatively? What does it take to really go there and to let the spirit flow?
Well, think about that. The spirit is already flowing. It's just a matter of acknowledging it. It's like when you think about where are you going anyway. The average person on this planet gets about 75 years. Some people get less, some people get more. So if you count backwards and you say, okay, if I get 75 years on this planet, if you're blessed to do that, and you look at how life progresses and the different things that happen during a lifetime, it's like I have a choice but to either stand still or go forward. Because if you stand still, you know, like anything, if you don't use it, you'll lose it. And if you go forward, you'll get experience. But at the end of the day, what's so funny that I look at it like this is that when you get through doing everything that you do, you still got to give everything back. Nobody takes anything with them. They don't take their body with them. They don't take their talent with them. They don't take anything. You have to give it all back again. So I figure, hey, if I got to give it back, I might as well use it while I got it.
If
I know
I
it's a
have to
simple,
get
concept,
it
but
no, I got it. So like,
but
okay, if I have to give it back, so I have a talent for writing, right? And if I hear you
right,
correctly, that's not walking out the door with me. That at the
it's not going
point
with you.
it ain't going with me. That at the point that I lay this body down, the writing gets laid down, the speaking gets laid down, the preaching gets laid
Everything,
down,
everything,
everything, right? And
right,
so the only opportunity I have to do anything with it is during this moment now. This
exactly.
is it.
This is
Okay,
it. I
okay, I
mean,
got
because
that.
if you think about it, the way I look at it, everything in this world that I know of is based on flowing. I mean, you take a breath in, you put it out. You eat something, you gotta, use the bathroom and get rid of that. Anything that
Hmm.
comes in that's involved with nature is all about flowing. So,
Hmm.
I know we've been taught a lot about, grabbing and holding on to things and possessions and all this, but the reality of the matter is that it's all illusionary because you really don't possess anything, not even your bodies, because at the end of the day, it has to flow. It has to keep flowing. It has to go back. So I don't think that we're meant to just grab and possess things as much as we are taught to. We really should be flowing more and utilizing the art of flowing, because all our senses are based on flowing and it's not based on possession, really.
So, okay, but how does that work in terms of an art form where you've got to concentrate? I mean, in order for you to be the kind of player that you are, you got to concentrate. You got to hold on to something at some point to develop a mastery.
Well, actually, as quiet as it's kept, concentration is part of flowing as well too. You just,
Okay.
yeah, as quiet as it's kept, because you actually, you're flowing when you concentrate and you just focusing on a particular thing at a particular time at that particular moment. And the consistency of focusing moment after moment is really flowing as well, which is what we call concentration. So it just depends on how you look at all of this.
Hmm.
It still comes, it's all based on flowing.
Okay. Okay. So concentrating is not grasping. So if I'm
No,
grasping, I'm not concentrating.
you can't really grasp it, because it's like almost when you try to grasp something, you actually putting a glitch in what you're actually doing, because really, we label it as a grasp, but if you really look at it, you're just allowing yourself to focus moment by moment for a consistent amount of moments. And it seems like when you put them all together, it seems like you were only just thinking about one thing, and you were, but it was just each moment you had to transfer that thought to that moment and through for the next moment. Because it's really just a bunch of moments strung together.
Right, right. Life is a bunch of moments strung together. Okay. So, all right, I got that. All right, that makes sense. How then does that play into living your life purpose? If because when I think of a life purpose, I always think of something that, okay, this is what I'm here to do in this,
Hmm.
75 plus or minus years that I've got on the planet to realize it.
Hmm.
And how does staying in the flow allow me to live my purpose?
Well, when you say your purpose, I think our purpose is actually comes under a multi umbrella, so to speak.
Hmm.
Um, I think that like people say, you're a saxophonist or whatever. And really, am I a saxophonist? Because if it wasn't for Adolph Sax inventing the sax, would I be playing the saxophone?
Mm-hmm.
because I don't think I'm an inventor. I wouldn't, as far as saxophone, I don't think I would have invented the saxophone. So
Mm-hmm.
actually, um, that thing was created. Somebody introduced it to me, and I decided to, make it a part of who I am in this present, body. But the reality of the matter is, I could have probably grasped on a number of things. So
Mm-hmm.
me fulfilling my purpose is being able to be open to, whatever I desire to do, and then, putting concentration in that and developing that to its highest level. But it's not necessarily that I'm limited to that. That makes
Okay.
sense.
Okay. Yeah, no, it does. It does. So that you're moving in a direction, but there's always an openness that you can be pulled somewhere else.
Exactly. I mean, because, these are professions, and it's like, um, a lot of times, people may say, well, you do this and this is all you can do. But, I've written songs and, books and all kind of stuff. And it's like, I'm not limited just to playing saxophone. I mean, it's a very wonderful thing to do. And music is a very wonderful language. But, and even within music, you got basically 13 notes. And you can manipulate and maneuver those notes in so many different ways. You got genres, they call it different genres, based off the same notes everybody's using. So it just goes to show you that how much you can pull from one thing. So, and that's just based on how we look at it. Somebody might like the rhythm to be this way, somebody might like it to be that's jazz, that's country, that's what it's really the same notes though. Just maneuvered different
That's
kind of ways.
fascinating. That's really that there are 13 notes. And out of these 13 notes, we get all of these different genres of music from,
Right.
like you said, as far away as, I guess we call it Indian music, which I know that there are variations within what we call Indian music, to, the African tribal music, to the genres that
Right.
we understand here in the U.S., that it all breaks. Why 13 notes?
Well, that's
What's
in the
that about?
Western syllabus. That's in the Western syllabus. It could be, some people talk about the note between the note and the note between that note. And it's like, can we hear that? I don't know. I mean, some people might have ears that can hear all of those types of notes. But the thing about it is that, these frequencies are so important to when it comes down to all of this because, it's just a vibration and our ears, um, you know, can hear so much, but it doesn't mean that there's not a lot more there. It's just that we can only pick up that which is we can hear with our own ears. So when you look at it from that perspective too, it's like it keeps you creative because there's so much to grab from. There's so much to look at and say, okay, let me see what that's about. And if you just keep studying and looking, you're always going to find something that will be interesting and fascinating that you can grab onto.
Right, right, right. That's okay. Now that's fascinating for me from the perspective of, where do you tune in? Because the presence and the power that we call God, right?
Mm-hmm.
That presence is infinite. And we're all points of awareness and we all dial in at different points. So you dialed in as a musician, I dialed in as a preacher. Somebody else dialed in as a writer. Somebody else dialed in, and then we don't have just one way that we can dial into that presence, that we can show
Exactly.
up as that. That's fascinating. Quincy Jones said something once, and I want to ask you about this because it really stood out to me. He said that the melody is absolute. And I don't know enough about music to know the difference between melody, harmony. It's all sound to me.
Mm-hmm.
I know it when I like it. I know it when I don't like it. But one of the things that he said is that the melody is found, that it's not created, that you can study everything you want to study, but the melody is found, and it requires a deep listening.
Hmm.
What is that? Well, first of all,
That's
what
interesting.
is melody? What is melody?
Well, in terms of music, it's a string of notes. I mean, that's tied together, so to speak. That's kind of a layman type of term. So, like, say for instance that you got one note, and you put another note with that, and you put another note with that, in a particular rhythm or with that, whatever, you get a melody. So really, a melody is just one note at a time in a moment.
Okay.
one
But
note
this,
at a time in the moment, strung together, just like life is, just like the professions are. We got all these different professions you spoke about. Really, our professions are like notes. You can grab whatever note you want to and ride it like a melody in the melody.
right. So, so how, what is the part of music that is, I guess, that he's speaking about? I mean, I get that it all comes from God, but what is that part that he's
hmm
speaking about that is, it's that that it's not you.
Well, you know what? So I got a different take on a lot of things, and the reason why, is because, I mean, the way I look at things, it's like, I know it may sound abstract at some levels or sometimes, but it's not really because I think that, when I see constantly things being discovered and rediscovered, we only know so much about so much, and it's like every
Hmm.
day we're learning different things that go like, wow, you can do this, you can do that. Like even with this technology, I mean, 20 years ago, this stuff was like, some crazy sci-fi type of situation.
Right.
So it's like, with that knowledge of that, it's like, man, you know, I've I've really stopped trying to define everything so much because it's like the moment you grab onto something and say, well, this is what it is, you find out and it extends beyond that. And you go like,
Hmm.
what? I mean, is it more? What else is here? What else is coming? And it's always like, something that you thought you knew that you put definition on it so hardcore and it's like, no, that's not what it is. It extends beyond that. So when it comes down to this music, when I look at this music, and just the infinite possibilities of being able to assemble different variations of tones and rhythms. It's over the top fascinating. I mean, to be honest with you, and things will come to you just based off of a chord progression or a harmonic structure that he may be talking about is absolute. That's just inside of those structures already there, and you just pretty much say, "Oh man, you know what you can do? Check this out." You find it like that, and it's that fascinating because there's so much that you can grab from that information that is just unbelievable.
But I would think that all of life is like that. Like I know we it's like we allow that in music and we allow that in art, but I
hmm
think that like when I think about a Steve Jobs, that I think that the level of fascination that you have with music is a level of fascination that he had with programming and with creating hardware and with creating software. And the openness to life is getting to a place of total fascination with wherever you are. No matter where you're showing
Right.
up, no matter where you are um, expressing, it is developing a total fascination with that. Uh-oh, I'm losing you there for a second, Mark. Oh, there you
Exactly.
go.
Yeah.
Um,
Like,
so yeah, so that to me I think is key to living your life purpose, which is, how do I become fascinated with where I am? How do I become so uh, how do I return to what I'm doing with the eyes of a child? How do I recapture that curiosity?
good point. I think by not comparing yourself to people and things,
Hmm.
because people have set a bar of what something should look like or what it's supposed to be like, and not necessarily. It may not be you. You may be, creative in a way that comes up with something new. Or when I say something new, something that's not on the scene right now.
Hmm.
So it's like, as a child, when a child goes out, a child doesn't have a whole lot to compare themselves to, so they're just exploring. And when it comes
Hmm.
to yourself, love the expression that God has gave to you, and explore that as opposed to trying to explore something of the nature of what somebody said you should be.
You know, you just hit something that I think is fascinating. I don't even know if I consciously thought about it, but that is exactly it with children, is that they don't have the comparisons that we have as adults. And it's that
Right.
lack of comparison that opens them up to find something new. So
Exactly.
then I guess the question is, as an adult, because I don't think that I'm supposed to lose the wisdom that I have. I think the wisdom that I've gained over, these 20 years that I've been on the planet, that I don't think I'm supposed to sort of hand that back. I think that's part of the gift. But
Exactly.
how do I stop comparing myself to somebody else? And how do you do that in terms of your music? When you are creating.
Well, I try to remain like a child when it comes to that, in the sense that I love listening to other people. I love
Hmm.
listening to other influences of that nature, but I also love myself. And I also love what comes from me just naturally. Sometimes I giggle when oh man, that was bad right there. Let me try this, let me try that. And sometimes it'll come out some different way because I really wasn't trying to match anything. I was just doing what I do. And it may sound unorthodox, but if you look at most inventions and most creations around us, like, just look around your room and you'll see different things that was created. Somebody thought of that. Somebody had to be unique enough in their own self to go like, hey, you know what we can do? Let's try this. And I think that comes from being in touch with oneself and just saying, hey, what God gave me is okay. God gave me, a good talent, a good expression that it's okay. I can utilize this and I don't have to live up to what this person says I need to do because this is okay. God is the ultimate word. So if God gave it to me and it's okay with God, then it should be okay with everybody else, pretty
So
much.
part of getting rid of the comparison is recognizing your origin. That
Exactly. Recognizing the power that you come from and then that expression that you came from granted you to that level of life where you go like, hey, I'm putting you here and making sure that, you provided for with the direct connectivity to me. So if I dig you and I made you, then hey, I made all the rest of them too. So love what I made.
right, right. I love what I made. I appreciate that. Okay. No, I think that that's huge because I think that we spend so much time in our lifetime comparing ourselves. I mean, we learn that. I think we start doing it probably, well, we start doing it like in grade school because there are all these grading systems and it's like, certain students get an A. And if you wanted an A, but you didn't get one, and you're looking at the people that did get an A, and then now this whole comparison system is set up. And, I don't know the question is like, how do you get that out of you? How do you like systematically move that comparison out of you? Because if you don't have a God perspective, if you're not, spiritually minded, what are you just screwed? In terms of being able to let go of comparing yourself, if you don't have that origin to go back to,
Hmm.
you know, then what?
No, you know what? It's funny because Thomas Edison,
Hmm.
um, how he was, his mother had him in school, basically real quickly. His mother had him in school, and he was always asking the teacher questions, and she was like, "Get in line, you oughta line." Always just curious about things that after the class was over, still asking questions. So um, eventually, mother had to remove her from school because he become it was like worrisome to the, the system, and
Mark,
he
I
kept
think
like,
I'm losing you a little bit. You're breaking up just a little bit there.
oh, okay. What about
Oh,
now?
there you are. No, that's great. I don't know what you did, but that's great.
Okay. And I was just thinking like, if he was diagnosed with what he was supposed to have back in the day, I think it was like attention disorders. Was it ADT? Is it called? I think
Yeah,
it is.
ADD or
ADD.
ADHD.
One
Yeah,
of those. Yeah. You know, but really, he might have been just in touch with himself on another level, you know, that allowed him. But we didn't recognize that because we was trying to put him into a box, and he had to, you
right,
know, honor who he was, and thankfully he did because you know we all, you know, benefiting from him honoring the God that was within him himself, you know. So
right,
that's how that
right.
pours out too.
So keeping the curiosity on the heart, keeping that, and that's part of it. So now you're at the point now in your life where your art is able to support you. What decision did you have to make it within your heart to get to that place? You know, or was that a decision, or was that a, you know, white knuckling it, like, you know what, no matter what, I'm just going to play, and whatever comes, comes.
Um, I think that you know we always, you know, I'm always continue to strive to get you know things happening on all kind of levels. So um, just not being content with just you know wherever you at and just continue to go forward. I think that keeps you in the mindset of sticking with what you're doing. And I feel like this, you know, if you had something for a long, long time, you don't want to keep switching midstream if you're happy doing what you do. So you start looking for things to you know, to sustain what you're doing because, you know, I mean, along with time comes knowledge, wisdom, understanding on how to, you know, go about things. And if I decided now, you know, I would lose all the wisdom and knowledge, you know, for that particular craft going to somewhere else, it probably wouldn't be the wisest thing to do. So then that, you know, the time kind of makes you go, okay, we're going to keep going in that direction and keep trying to make things happen in that direction because you invested a lot of time in that. And once again, when you look at that 75-year period, give or take, it's like time is really only the thing that you illusionarily have at that moment because at some point, like I said, you got to give everything back. So I don't want to take a lot of time I invested in one thing and then have so many years left to invest, you know, more time into that. And say, okay, I'm gonna switch up and give it up now. So
Mm-hmm.
you know, you just kind of stick with it. You kind of keep doing it, and, you know, try to find other outlets, other angles, you know, maybe add some things to it to make it work for you.
Mm-hmm. 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 Um, so you know, I want to ask you if you would play something for us.
You know what? It's very difficult today, only
Oh
because
no.
because because of me holding this phone,
Uh-huh.
and I really don't have my horn out right now, so
Okay, okay.
I had to warm up and all that kind of
Oh,
stuff. So
I should have asked for it
yeah, I
beforehand.
probably could have made it happen, but it's just kind of a little difficult scenario. I'd be like a one-man band with a, you know, trying to play a cymbal in one hand, got the horn in another hand, playing the flute through my nose. I got that.
So where can people find you? Is there a website, or where, because you got some gigs that are coming up that people should know about.
Yeah, I basically on ReverbNation.com, and if they look up Mark
Reverb
Allen
Nation.
Shelton,
Okay.
and you know, and it's like a whole bio, and you know, pretty much whatever's happening, try to post it on that, to
Mhm.
keep people
Mhm.
abreast of what's
Mhm.
going on. But like I
Mhm.
said, I'm always striving to get better. I feel like practice is another thing I need to touch upon. You got to keep practicing your craft, whatever, if you want to get better at it, and try
Mhm.
to go to a higher level with it, because there's so much to explore.
Mhm. 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 So, okay, you just said that practicing. What does a typical day look like for you? Do you practice every day?
Yeah, I mean, it's been throughout the years. It's been like sometimes I would practice and then I'll fall off, but now I'm back into practicing every day now. Got up this morning like about 6:37 and got me a couple of hours in early this morning. Some long tones and warming up because I just feel compelled to reach a higher level. So I feel like I'm touching up on things that I've never touched up on before since I've been playing. And the more I go toward it, the more I want to get and the better I want to get. I'm trying to go to even a higher level. I want to really, really take it out.
So what? Tell me about that. What do you do to make sure that you practice? Because I mean, at what point? Because I know that there are things that it's like, okay, I'd like to do. I'd like to work out every day, but that's not what happens. But I know that if I want health and health at the level that I want it, I know that I need to do it every day. I'm sure that there are people who, they know that they want something, but that, doing it every day concept has not yet locked in. How did you get to that place where you made it, I guess, a non-negotiable, or you made it the thing that you had to do?
Well, what I found using scheduling is one of the best things to do for anything. So I look at like how corporate America and world, how they do scheduling on everything that you got. You go into a job, you got a particular thing you got to do a particular time. But a lot of times in people's personal life, they don't utilize that tool. And it's like, okay, I'll get to that, I'll get to there, I'll get to there. But really, if you just took down and say, I'm going to take an hour and dedicate that to myself or dedicate that to my passion, just an hour a day. If you looked at that for 7 days, that's 7 hours times 4. That's 28 hours a month that you dedicate to a passion or ideal or something that you really want to do. And that's one of the tools that we can use, a calendar, scheduling, just basic scheduling. If you don't schedule anything else, give yourself an hour. Just say, this is for me. I'm going to give myself an hour, give myself to everything else in this world, to my job and this and that. I'm going to give myself an hour every day, something for me. And that's the way I started to get back into the mode. I'm giving myself an hour to improve on what I really love to do. And that's how I started doing that.
Cool. So, life purpose. Your life purpose, then, if you had to sum it up, would be?
Man, that's a good question. Purpose, my life purpose. At this point of the game, I think to really just to try to honor what God has placed in me in reference to heightening my senses to the highest level of communication. In other words, I don't necessarily know exactly what a particular thing is. Do I supposed to be a saxophonist, or am I supposed to be somebody that may have a message for somebody to help them grow, help myself grow through them, and vice versa. I just think just honoring God's input into my life. I think that's without me trying to take a particular thing, but just to focus on honoring what God has given me, because I look at every breath as something that I'm really thankful for, and I realize that each breath allows us to go on to another moment. So based on that concept, I realized that I just need to honor the talents and honor the gifts that God has given me. I'll give you an example too. It's like when I'm practicing my horn, for instance. Some days you wake up and you can feel that I can feel like I got better. Like I can feel like, man, you getting cold with this on even another level. And it's like, was it there before, or did that just happen to, it was always there. But when I start honoring that talent by practicing, then I discovered that, I was better. I just needed to honor that. And it's like, oh, okay. So I think that if we honor some of the ideals that we have, we honor some of the things that, sometimes, you could be sitting down, you can get an ideal in your head, and it might be the best ideal in the world. But do you honor that ideal by, actually trying to execute what you thought of, or you said that was something cool when you just sit on it? And sometimes many people say, what, I just had this idea. I woke up and I really started to do this thing. Next thing I know, I got this big company. That's because they honored what God has given them.
Right. Something that you're saying, and I want to acknowledge it because I think that it's key, is that when I ask you about your life purpose, that you didn't say, okay, it is about music, because if I understand you correctly, it is being open and receptive to whatever way that presence expresses through you. So that could be music. So today it's music, but it could be something much greater, right? Or different, not even greater, but just different.
Absolutely, you hit it on the head.
Okay. And so here, this is I have been talking to people about life purpose and why they need to know what their life purpose is. If you had to say why it's important for someone to understand what their life purpose is, what would you say?
Well, in using in that context, I would think it's important because um, it gives you the opportunity to access yourself to really find how you can develop what it is that you're supposed to be doing. So, for instance, that once you identify something, like I said before, once you know that you want something, once you know that you know something about yourself, you can focus in and develop those skills or develop what you need to develop in order to portray that or give that out to someone. And if you don't really know what it is, then you kind of just in the wind. I mean, by me deciding to play saxophone, okay, now once you decided that, now what does it take for you to really become really, really good at this on a level? Well, I had to know what I wanted to do first. Same way with your life purpose. You kind of got to know have a direction so you can focus your energy on developing that part of you, and then your direction can expand and put you right where you need to be and where you're supposed to be in this life.
Okay. I appreciate that. So going back to something you said earlier about flow,
Hmm.
that purpose then directs the flow. Because the flow does the flow, and from your perspective, does the flow have its own direction, or is that the part that we are quote unquote in charge of?
Well, I think the flow, and this is from a limited definition, but I think that when you do flow with certain things, sometimes within that flow, you can find what your purpose is or what your passion is, right? Because like I said, if the guy Adolph Sax didn't invent the sax and I hadn't been around seeing musicians, and I wasn't in the flow of that, then I would have never, known that it existed. But by just being in the flow and saying, oh, what's that? I discovered something within that flow. And once I discovered what I discovered, I was able to take that and focus in on that particular thing to develop a purpose within that situation.
Hmm.
So I had to be in the flow first to find out, that, because it did just come to me. I didn't just wake up in the middle of the night, saxophone, like that. It was
Right.
something that I saw somebody else doing,
Right.
and then I wanted to do it too as well.
I think it is Marion Wright Edelman who said, "You cannot be what you cannot see." That if you want,
Absolutely.
that if you want to be it, you've got to see it. Okay, Mark, this has been awesome. This has been so awesome. We
That's
made
good.
it.
Is that an hour that quick?
It has been an hour that quick. Yes.
Wow.
Yes, yes,
Wow.
yes. I'm so sad that I didn't get the chance to let them hear you play. I would, but you know what? The
We got a
fact that
new
we
CD
pulled.
coming out soon.
Oh, what's the CD?
I'm working on it right now. It's like a work in progress. I did a bunch of songs, and
Okay.
I'm gonna finish those up, and then just I'll let it be known. It'll be all over the internet and stuff
Okay,
like that.
okay. But the CDs that are out, Gospel Stroll, which is, I love that CD. I love, love,
Oh,
love that
thank you.
CD. I gave it to my mom. It is in constant rotation today. And you made that
That's
CD
good.
back in 2000,
Six or something like that.
something like that,
2005,
right? And it
four,
is
three, something like that.
right, right, right. It is still in rotation in my mom's. They got the multi-changer, whatever. She
Right.
didn't really come into the whole MP3 thing.
She,
Um,
she old
but
school with it, huh? She still.
the old school with it, yeah, with the chain about the CD changer. And
Wow.
then I Do It for Love, which is a remarkable CD.
Hmm.
Love that. So those you can find at Reverb Nation or CD
Well,
Baby.
actually, everything's on iTunes. My first CD is on there as well, On the Prowl. I don't know if you ever heard of that one. That was my
You
first
know what,
CD.
Mark? I vaguely knew about that one, but I don't think I really. I'd have to go back and listen to it. I don't think I know that music as well.
Yeah, On the
But
Prowl was the first one.
But I mean, I know it's largely instrumental, with some lyrics here and there, but I could sing
Yeah.
everything in a gospel stroll because I've listened to it that much. And not just from an editing standpoint, but from just loving the music and really like letting it just kind of get inside of me and just really, it's great music. Great, great music. This has been awesome. So thank you so much.
Wow.
Those of you that have been tuning in for these conversations, I'm so glad that you give me an opportunity to share with you friends of mine that I think are just powerful and wonderful. You'll see in the box below that you have the ability to sign up for Jumpstart. This is a class about finding and activating your life purpose. And I think you heard from Mark for sure that there is value in knowing what you want, because it is how you direct and shape the God energy that you have been given charge of. And since, what is it, plus or minus 75 years we got? Give or take.
That's right.
When I subtract where I am from that number, that just makes me slightly nervous.
Hey, you know what? That's funny that you said that, because somebody did the same thing you did. It was like, wow, when I think about it from that perspective, then I'm not going to waste any more time on any arguments, anything that I don't want to do. I'm going to take the rest of my time and focus on what it is that I do want to do, because I only got X amount of time to do this.
Exactly. I don't. Every moment matters, and I don't want no wasted moments. So
no wasted moments.
Cool. Well, Mark, this was wonderful. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
I will see you on Tuesday, and my guest on Tuesday is Reverend Jamie Sanders, and we will be talking about how do I know, how can I really tell if I am growing spiritually. Have a great Labor Day weekend, and I will see you on Tuesday.